There we go. Should have been on this already. Okay. Does everyone see a grayish screen that says construction skill set class? Excuse me. With one yes, we'll get.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. We'll launch right into it. So as Tim mentioned, this is the last skill set class of this year. I'll be presenting with a few other people on construction. So with that, we'll get going. Starting with introductions, Omane, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Good afternoon, all. Once again, my name is Omane Livingston. I am actually the founder, president, and CEO of O2 Engineering, Projects and Construction Management, O2 EPCM. I am a civil and environmental engineer. Have been in this business for over 30 years now, and I've worked on all phases of construction. Johan?
Hi guys, my name is Johan Kwok. I'm currently working with Swinerton Builders. I'm a project engineer. I've been working for this company 3 years. I'll take it to Will.
Cool. Thank you. I'm Will Lefebvre. I work for the Whiting Turner Contracting Company. We're a general contractor. Been there about 11 years, and I graduated from first Costa Mesa High School and then San Diego State University. Okay, so I wanted to open up with an agenda of what we hope to accomplish and what we hope to present today. First, we want to bring the other skill set classes into context, kind of explain how they tie to construction. Next, we want to explain how you can get involved and what your involvement might look like. After that, we want to do a project showcase of the LAX Automated People Mover and the collection of projects that encompasses. After that, we want to do a detailed review of construction phases, and we'll dive into more detail later. And finally, end with a breakout activity. So first, I wanted to flash these Mentimeter instructions. We're going to be doing some quiz questions on the screen. And as Tim hinted to, we do plan to have rewards for the fastest and most accurate answers. So if you could scan the QR code, or you can go to this site listed here to get linked up before our first question. And a couple of the questions are also going to be just more survey oriented to gauge where your interest is within ACE. So we'll give this a few more seconds for everyone to scan in, and then we'll launch right into it.
Hey, Will, could you put that address in the chat too for any latecomers that drop in?
I should be able to, yeah.
Cool.
Let's see. To everyone, what do we got? Mentimeter is not very cut and paste friendly.
Sorry.
That's okay, as long as you guys are bearing with me.
I'll go ahead and do that.
I think that should be it if I wrote it correctly.
Okay.
All right. We'll give it a few more seconds and go. All right. For anyone who wasn't able to take a snapshot of the screen, you can go to the link in the chat and catch up with future questions. But for sake of time, let's launch into it. Okay, first question here. What is the first word that comes to mind when you hear construction? If you've scanned the code or gone in, you should be able to type a word in. Whatever comes to mind when you hear construction. All right, building, build. Dangerous, interesting, dirt. All right. What's that one? Opportunity, fantastic. Labor, engineers. Hard work. Looks like building might be the winner here, but I like some of these other items. You know, dangerous, there is a stigma with construction about it being dangerous. Some of you may recall kind of that, I want to say it's a New York skyscraper photo where the construction personnel are having their lunch, you know, however many feet above the city. Construction has come a long way to be safer these days. Hard work still is hard work. Labor, there is that aspect to it. Dirt, it can be dirty. It can be clean. You can be in an office. So there's a lot that we hope to teach you about construction today. All right, next one. What is your favorite building or element of the built environment? Same way, go ahead and type your answers in. High rises, Burj Khalifa, Flatiron, SoFi Stadium, love it. Coliseum, cool. All right. So these are all great. Notice we say building or element of the built environment. Construction can be a building, it can be a road, it can really be anything. So it's good to keep an open mind in that respect. So this next one, nothing personal, but rank the ACE disciplines in order from first, you're most interested, to third, you're least interested. We're going to do this at the end of the presentation as well to see if we were able to tip the scales at all with our presentation. All right, we got engineering in first. Oh, construction tied. Construction ahead. Okay. Uh-oh, man. All right. Looks like we might have some ground to make up today. Hopefully we can sell you guys on construction. I think Johan, Omane, and a few others on the call would agree that construction can be a great profession. But anyways, we'll tell you all about it. So construction's place in ACE. Wanted to do a quick skill set review. Quick disclaimer, I am a construction project manager, so I apologize if my quick summary of architecture and engineering is not entirely accurate, but it gives a taste. So as we've reviewed previously, architects kind of are involved at the concept level, and they develop a concept into a design and then plans. From there, they might engage a site or civil engineer to understand how those plans tie into the local infrastructure, environment, hydrology, things of that nature. Similarly, engineering, they might go to a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer, kind of some of the calculations that we did in the engineering skill set class a couple weeks ago. And lastly, construction management, that's kind of a subdivision of construction, but it can be slotted between the owner and the contractor or general contractor. And we'll dive more into that later. So in my opinion, construction is kind of where the rubber meets the road. You might design this perfect car and have all the things tweaked. You know, you have your motor and your body and your interior and whatever else. But once you set it on the road and get going, you might kind of find some bugs. And construction is very similar. We're kind of there to stress test the design that's been produced by other entities. Lastly, on this slide, wanted to touch on some sample courses to maybe give you an idea of where you might be headed. So these ones listed are largely college courses: estimating, plan reading, contracts, scheduling. But if we're talking high school, anything math-oriented, science, critical thinking is very construction related. Construction management, you might have to write an email or a form letter every once in a while. So even your English classes or your writing classes are also applicable to construction. But I would say math and science are likely the most applicable. So on this slide, wanted to touch on some delivery or contract types. And in short, that has to do with our construction's relationship to the other disciplines and to the owner. Design, bid, build is the most traditional, and it's very self-explanatory. So a design is developed. Someone draws a building. The owner takes that drawing, gives it to a contractor and says, I want you to bid. I want you to give me a cost to build this building. We give them a cost, and they probably get costs from a few other contractors to be sure that the cost is accurate. And then whoever is awarded builds. From there, design build. So maybe the designer and the builder actually collaborate. And instead of it being as segmented as the design bid build, they kind of work together and then can proceed together. Construction manager at risk. So in this delivery type, a construction manager might be slotted between the owner and the subcontractors to kind of act as a construction manager looking over the schedule and the budget. Integrated project delivery is a more progressive delivery type. and you share the risks and incentives. Oftentimes we refer to IPD personnel as trade partners. So instead of it being the owner sends it to the contractor and sends it to the architect, everyone is sitting around a table, kind of like the graph we see, or the graphic we see to the right there. Lastly, wanted to touch on P3, public-private partnership, because this may be applicable in your realm, in education. So this, in short, involves private financing and payback in case public entities aren't in a position to fund projects themselves. So these are just a few delivery types. And again, hopefully they kind of help paint the picture of relationships between construction, engineering, and architecture. Okay, now to the fun stuff. We got our question 1 of 6. Looks like we have a few people who have entered. If anyone hasn't entered, you should be able to look in the chat. And we have the link to Mentimeter. So if you click on that, you should be able to kind of toss your hat in the ring and have a chance to win the prize. Okay, we're gonna get going. All right, if you answer faster, you get more points. I'm sure you're all aware. So what is the most traditional delivery type? All right, we got 2 for design build, 2 for design big buildings, and 2 for design bid build. Design bid build is the correct answer. Kind of threw you a curveball there. I apologize. But again, design bid build is where, you know, an owner engages an architect, says, I want a building. They design it. They give that to the owner. They send it down to the contractor. And it's not really a collaborative effort, at least in a progressive sense. Okay, so here's our leaderboard. We'll hover on it for a second. Looks like Beyonce. So we got Beyonce, Gio, Miss Gibbs, Fabiola, Haley Navarro. Appreciate the last name there. So we need to know your name and you need to be in the database to be eligible to win. Apologize for not stating that up front. Okay, next slide here. So routes into the construction industry. This graphic to the right, which was kindly provided by Swinnerton, just gives an idea of where you might go from where you are in high school. So you might go direct to the union or the trades. We have craft training, apprentice training, vocational training. Maybe this is being, you know, an electrician or a plumber. You can go from college, you can go through college to management. Maybe you get your degree, you have an internship as a project engineer, and then you're ultimately a project manager for a general contractor. There's also hybrid experience-based transitions into management and parallel skills, those last 2 bullets there. So it's not to say that if you don't go to craft training or apprentice training, vocational training, university degree, you can't get into construction. Construction is not just banging a hammer. Construction is an industry. There are accountants, there are schedulers, there are people who are just kind of loosely related to construction. So if construction interests you, but you don't want to get dirty or you don't want to manage, there's still a place for you. On this slide, just wanted to take a deeper dive into occupations and involvement. So first, tradesperson, it's the most hands-on. It's an entry-level kind of front-end position with limited education requirements. It's not to say that you can't be educated if you're a tradesman, but you may not have to be. It's more a learn-as-you-go curriculum. So if you are, you know, you say, you know what, I want to be an electrician, you might go to the electricians union and they'll train you in everything you need to know, from safety to equipment, to tools and all that. And like I say, their union affiliation is available, and we'll touch a little more on that later as it pertains to benefits. The next bullet there, subcontractor, vendor, you could work in sales, project management, administration, again, kind of transferable skills, accounting. Maybe you're managing an electrician. Maybe you are in equipment rental. You rent forklifts to people, just as some examples. You could also work for a general contractor. I work for a general contractor. Johan does as well. You might be in project management. You might be a superintendent. So generally a superintendent with a project manager is someone who may or may not have a degree, may have construction experience, and can kind of lead the tradespeople with schedule and budget to be sure that the overall project stays on track. So they're more of a coordinator with field knowledge. And lastly, administration is also applicable there. The next bullet, you could be a consultant. And consultants, in my opinion, expertise is most important. We have a few samples listed there, but let's say right now you're a SketchUp whiz. In your ACE project, you can just model stuff with no problem. So you graduate and get into kind of beefier BIM programs, and ultimately you have this expertise that can sell well to a company, to an owner, and you can kind of be a modeling consultant. Lastly, construction manager, last but not least, construction manager, owner's rep. I think experience is most important here because not all owners have construction experience. Maybe they have the money, the capital to build, but they don't know exactly how to do it. So they come to the table with an idea and they engage their architect and their engineer, but they need someone to help coordinate and be their construction knowledge. And that's where a construction manager or owner's rep can step in. Okay, question 2 of 6, Mentimeter. Everyone at the ready. All right, true or false? You must have a college degree to become a construction executive. And I realized I didn't explicitly say this, so we'll see what the verdict is. Okay, cool. A good balance there. The correct answer is false. Pretty much any path within construction can lead to the executive level if you're committed. So even if you go out of high school straight into the trades, you don't have a college degree, if you work hard, you can then maybe get signed on as a superintendent for a general contractor. Ultimately, you're a high enough superintendent where you're managing people instead of projects. And ultimately you get kind of ushered into upper management and the executive level. So kind of a cool thing to keep in mind. No matter where you enter construction, there is a path to the executive level. We got a few more people signed up. Looks like Gio might have taken the lead here. Looks like it. Good job, Gio. Okay, keep moving. All right, on this slide, hovering quickly on income estimates and information. So the Los Angeles median income as of a December 2nd economic report is $61,220. It's not to say you are guaranteed that amount. It's to say that's the average amount just of anyone working in the Los Angeles area as of December 2nd, 2021. Construction industry averages, again, this is not the guarantee. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest. But as a construction laborer, you might make $55,339. So very close to that median income, a very respectable income. As a construction project manager, you might make over $100,000. So there's a range within there. And maybe as an electrician, you make 80, or maybe as a construction manager, you make 150. But those are just kind of, it's kind of a lower end and higher end estimate to show you kind of where construction might land with regards to the median income in Los Angeles. Some considerations as you go through high school, go through college, and ultimately enter the workforce if you choose to enter construction. Are you going to be salary or hourly? Additional consideration of benefits. So maybe if you're hourly, there's a pension component. A lot of unions offer pension. And if you work for 20 years, then you're vested and ultimately you have this great benefit at retirement. And I'm getting too heavy into it, but in short, construction can be a profitable industry and is worth considering. Okay, with that, I'm going to pass it to Johan. I've done enough talking, and he's going to talk about the LAX Automated People Mover project.
Hey guys, LAX Automated People Mover project is located in LAX, the second most busiest airport in the United States as of 2019. Automated People Mover is a electric train system on 2.25 mile elevated guideway with 6 stations total, 3 inside the central terminal and 3 outside the CTA. And then project started to reduce the amount of traffic into the airport. And then it encompasses about 6 different projects and it totals up to $5.5 billion. And then it's projected to finish by 2023. And then we'll improve traffic flow in LAX for 2028 on the anticipations. Can you go to the next slide? On the next slide, it shows a bigger picture of where the all the projects are located. that orange line is the actual APM, the train that moves along. And then on all the way on the right, a Conrac, Conrac is a consolidated rental car facility. It's one of the destinations where international traveling or domestic traveling people arrives to LAX and gets to a Conrac facility and rent a car to travel within the LA or Southern California. And there is multiple projects involved in here, such as ITF, and then there's stations for the LA Metro to station at. And then we can go to the next slides. Next slide shows quick information about one of the station is an intermodal transportation facility, one that you saw in the middle. And so the intermodal transportation facility is a parking structure and a mobility hub will provide travelers with convenient access to LAX without needing to enter the central terminal area. And it has completed this year. And another bigger facility is a Conrac. Conrac is an existing rental car operation together into one conveniently located facility adjacent to 405 freeway with direct connection to LAX via the automated people mover train. It is projected to finish by 2023. We can go to next slide. It shows quick facts about this project is just the Conrac itself costs about $1 billion and it created 1,000 construction jobs, approximately 6.3 million square foot of facility. It has 18,000 total parking spaces, and then 7 tower crane was used during this construction. And then next video will show you some of the newer technologies and then the construction process, how it looks like currently at the job site on the video. You see all those crane, and this is BIM Navisworks, which shows the 3D model of the construction. This is timeless video. And then here it will quickly show you augmented reality of a 3D scanned places within the construction. This is for surveying, but a little bit further in the video. Yes, so they're laser scanning the job site. So you can actually transfer all the 3D scan information to the virtual reality like this, and you can actually apply it on a augmented reality using a VR headset. As if you're walking in the job site and you can see how the completed product would look like even though it's not there using a 3D product. And then that's a Matterport. It's a laser dotted 3D information data that's transferred to the cloud so you could see it. And then it has accurate measurement features. So you could actually measure all the distance off of the 3D printed Matterport.
Very cool.
Yep. And I think
Right.
the rest of the videos.
Yeah, I think that kind of gives a taste. Would you agree, Johan?
Yep. We involve a lot of newer technologies into construction nowadays. And then we'll dive into it a little bit more towards the end of the slides.
Cool. Thank you, Johan. All right, next question, 3 of 6. What is the total value of the LAX Landside Access Modernization Program? All right, 1 billion, 5.5 billion. So that 1 billion probably taken from the Conrac slide, but the total value of the People Mover, Conrac, ITF projects is 5.5 billion. One more question with regards to those Johan slides, and we'll skip the leaderboard for a second because it'll pop up after this one as well. Kind of group them together for sake of time. How many parking spaces will the LAX Conrac project add? 18,000, that's right. All right, so that was based on the last slide that Johan presented. So let's see how we're doing here. Looks like Cecilia might have it. Nope, Miss Gibbs. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next slide from here. I think we have a few more questions. So big picture, what is construction? Before we launch into the separate phases of construction, I just wanted to further answer questions about, what would I be doing? What exactly is construction? So it's less design, less calculation, less engineering, drafting, and modeling. And it's not to say it can't involve those components, but that is more engineering and architecture. Construction is more about putting work in place and what they call means and methods. It's clarifying construction documents from a builder's perspective. It could be value engineering, saying, you know what, you've designed based on this product, but this one's cheaper, or we can get this one faster. Maybe the details aren't talking to each other. So we have all these specialized engineers, but a structural engineer doesn't know how big a mechanical piece of equipment is, and maybe they don't size their steel accordingly, and we can help them bridge that gap. Submittals and quality control, which we'll dive into in the next few slides. RFIs, or requests for information, as mentioned in previous skill sets. So these are generated by construction typically, and we'll touch on those more as well. Also managing time and money. So labor, material, equipment, and mobilizations, all the costs that go into actually standing up that structure or paving that road. Liquidated and consequential damages sounds scary, but in short, this could have to do with a shopping mall, right? As soon as they open, they can start charging their tenants and creating income, and shoppers come in and all that. So the longer construction takes, the more money they're technically losing. So that might be wrapped into a construction contract and be a consideration of our scope. Escalation or supply chain disruption, whether you guys have seen it in toilet paper, in plywood. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts and pieces in the supply chain. Maybe you've seen the ships off of the coast waiting to come to the port. So part of construction is understanding, or not understanding, but being in touch with the latest information so that you can inform the owner and say, you know what, I know you wanted to be done this year, but we can't get those walls until next year. And then leveraging opportunity and mitigating risk, which again is just kind of fancy speak, but there's a lot of risk in construction. There's the safety aspect, there's the schedule aspect. And so it's a lot of construction to manage those and kind of leverage opportunities to minimize the risk. So before we pass it over to Omane, we got question 5 to 6 here. As always, answer faster to get more points. What does RFI stand for? Okay, so RFI stands for request for information. Request full information, definitely a close second. We always want full information, but technically it stands for information. Let's check the leaderboard real quick. We got one more question at the end of the presentation, and after this, I'll pass it to Omane to dive into the phases of construction. So it looks like Ms. Gibbs is hanging on at the top, and Gio is in second for now. All right, Omane, I'll pass it to you.
All right, thanks, Will. I hope you guys are still having fun with us. Once again, Omane, and these are exciting times in our career. As Will mentioned, these actually what I'm going to be getting into right now are the 3 phases of construction. The first phase is pre-construction, where we're preparing for the construction and installation of materials to be done out of the construction site to ultimately have a building, right, or whatever it's been built. So estimating, understanding the scope shown on contract documents. I know we've been here at ACE Mentor Program. We have been putting some estimates together for our projects. So a lot of you guys have been exposed to that. That's also done, in the real world, putting estimates together. And then of course, as part of your estimate, you include in costs for both general contractor, which is GC, and subcontractors to make up your cost. That will ultimately let us know how much it's going to cost to build the buildings. Now, and then packaging it together to submit to the owner. We collectively work together to do that, similar to what you have been working on here within the ACE program with your RFP process, which you guys are familiar with. Next, coordination, it's a team effort. Construction is not just one, trade. It's multiple trades involved. There's architects, engineers, certified professionals on the trades. There's a lot of people that are involved. It cannot be completed without the job being a team effort. And like I said, it includes owners, design team, vendors, there's people that are providing the trailers where we work from, storage containers, water, etc. Yes, water, that's one of our vendors too as well. Of course, trade partners, city inspectors, neighbors, utilities, and there's a whole lot more. And then we've talked about requests for information, RFI and submittals. During the course of pre-construction, we try to eliminate any, any mishaps that may occur during construction. So we try to not only try, but we do review the documents prior to construction starting to ensure that we have all the questions answered. This is done during pre-construction. It's also done during construction too as well. Whether or not we've missing any information, if there's any conflicts in the information that's given in our contract documents, that includes not only the drawings, the specifications, and of course contract documents that are offered to each firms or trades involved in building whatever we're building out there in the field. And of course, some alternate methods of information is also being used. There's a lot of communication that's going on during the RFI and submission process. Now, with the submittals, packages that are called for within specifications that are given to build the buildings, those items are submitted, and it's being checked to ensure that they are the right materials that's being spec'd out to build that building. These things include, product types, whether it be, the manufacturers that are manufacturing the actual materials to ensure that they meet the specs. Samples are being submitted to ensure that it is actual samples that has to be approved prior to the installation of those samples out on the field. And of course, mock-ups. Mock-ups are actually, they, for example, if it's concrete, sometimes they build a wall, a sample wall, and they use that as a markup to say, okay, well, this is ultimately going to be the finished product. And the owner take a look at the mock-ups and say, okay, this is what I will be expecting when the construction is complete. And yeah, and then once it's approved, they give them the go to, go ahead and start building. Next. Next phase is construction. Of course, as part of construction, we we hold true to schedules, in ensuring that making a plan to work from. The schedules are already built. We have baseline schedules, and then through the course of for construction, we have a 2 weeks look ahead schedule or other schedules that are used within each trade. Not only shows what task occurs, but who will be completing the task, what is the task that's at hand, and where the task is occurring. So all of these things are shown in your schedule. I think some of you during the course of our ACE mentor program, we've shown you some of those. I know our team have gone through that too as well within ACE program. We also ensure that all parties are on the same page and working on one team. Putting the work in place is extremely important during the construction phase. Looking at drawings, plans, and specifications are on the roadmap. Subcontractors are the experts in their own trade. We ensure that the collaborations are happening in the schedule. We have work that comes before others. Say, for example, and I think I can actually wrap them all together now, that has to do with the installation of the work. So in the schedule, for example, you have electrical plumbing that's done inside the walls. Prior to closing those walls, we have inspectors that do come and inspect and ensure that those are built to spec and to code. Once it's approved by the inspector, and then the walls are closed. And after that, and then, of course, everything else follows place. And all of these things are shown in your schedules. It's necessary to coordinate between the trades to ensure that the entire system is installed correctly, like I just mentioned. And we've given you some of the examples as mentioned in the example that I told you about. And of course, inspections through the city and other authorized jurisdictions are also involved too as well. Next. Closeout. This is really important, for us that are in the construction world. We use this term a lot. Closeout begins in the beginning of the project, and it really does. I know we said 3 to 6 months here, but it does begin in the beginning of the project. This process of closing, organizing financial documents for the project, and handoff. Handoff meaning ultimately once it's built, and then will be, the commissioning has been done just to check and test everything that has been installed, make sure that they're working correctly. And of course, the attic stock, I'm pointing out some things that may be new to some of you. Attic stocks are items that are within the specs that after it's been constructed, there are some materials, right, that is left with the owner so that in case something goes wrong, they have additional materials to replace anything that has, that goes wrong after construction have completed. And of course, punch list is, items that we after construction, we walk the job site and see where, what things that we need to redo, whether it's repainting the walls or something may have gone wrong during construction, and then we actually fix it. So these are many things that do occur, of course, O&M, operations and maintenance, as-built. A lot of these things are handed off to the owner of the building after construction, and this is all done during closeout. And of course, schedule, we closeout process typically, like I said, starting between 3 to 6 months prior to completion, but of course it starts in the beginning. And of course, coordination, required documents and information needs to be coordinated with clients to set up the correct expectations, as already discussed. So now I will pass it on to, I believe, Johan.
Hi guys, this is the case study in innovation. We're just trying to show some new construction technologies that we're using on the site right now. The first video is about the robot dog from Boston Dynamics. Robot dog Scout, name of the robot is a Scout. Scout has a laser scanning devices that's actually attached on top of it, and then it does the real-time laser scanning of the construction site it's walking through. And then it delivers the dotted cloud system to the online and computers, so you can actually build a 3D model out of it. And then as you saw it in an earlier Conrad project, you could actually use those 3D models, videos, information, and photos to actually make an augmented realities, and allows for people that's working from remote locations to actually have a feeling of visiting the job site, maybe using their phones or their VR virtual reality headsets. And the next robot. So name of this robot is Dusty. So Dusty is actually helping out in the construction process of the people that are working on the job site. So what it basically does is it actually has a GPS system and also coordinated drawings that are scaled, that once the Dusty is placed on a correct coordination on a survey point, it will draw the plan on the floor for you. Floor for the people that are working on the job site and they're building. It could draw the walls, it could draw the pipes that's going to be in the walls based on a coordination drawing, so that enhances and accurations of the work that's happening on the job site.
Very cool.
And I just want to touch up on the overview because I think we skipped that. Just on an overview, so robots and AI involved in construction is getting bigger. And it's currently being tested. It's not widely being used yet, but as it proves its value, it will be more aside in the project, and there will be more jobs created to allow people to operate this equipment in the job site. And there's some reason why not all the newer technologies are being used in the construction. It's maybe cost effectiveness is not as high, because to the owner's point, if we tell the owner that we want to use this equipment to do a building more accurately or do more newer technology stuff, but in owner's side, it might not be cost efficient in terms of it doesn't really enhance the construction or final product, but we're asking owners to pay a little bit more for newer technology to maybe innovate the construction. So there is definitely a cost-effective side that needs to be considered before going into implementing these technologies on a job site. Then I'll hand it off to Will.
All right, thank you. All right, question 6 of 6. This is it. True or false? Closeout begins after the construction phase is complete. False. That is correct. So as Omone drove home, closeout can start at the very beginning. You want to line out expectations and not wait till the end and say, oh shoot, we were supposed to be tracking how much stuff we were recycling for this report, or we could have been working on these warranties earlier, or whatever else. So yeah, closeout can start at the beginning of the project. Okay, final leaderboard here. Let's see how Miss Gibbs did. Miss Gibbs, are you a mentor or a student?
I'm a mentor. I'm a teacher.
Teacher. Okay. All right.
So I surrender everything to the students.
Much appreciated. All right. Next up, Gio, student.
Yes, he's on my team. I'm so excited.
Good job, Gio. All right. So Gio, we're going to get with Anne. Be sure that you're in the database and that we have your email, and then we'll send your prize separately. Okay.
Congratulations, Gio.
Good job, Gio. Thank you for participating. And thank you everyone for participating. It makes these much better for the presenters. Okay, so to try to wrap this up and get into the activity and ultimately get everyone on their way on this Thursday, wanted to touch on some upsides of construction. So it's an aging workforce. There's high demand for new personnel. There's few barriers to entry. So it's not an industry where you have to have a PhD or go to school for 8 years, something like that. You can almost get into it immediately. All paths can lead to an executive position, as we touched on earlier in the presentation. There's a variety of work, whether location, scope, maybe you're building a building, a road, maybe you relocate to Alaska to build a pipeline, who knows? There's very hands-on involvement, tangible rewards, right? You could be driving down the road and say, I built that, which is pretty cool. And lastly, competitive compensation, as we touched on in the income slide. Okay, so we're revisiting the same question, seeing if we tip the scales at all. So go ahead and rank from first to third the ACE disciplines. Come on, construction, you can do it. Hang on, hang on. Oh, engineering, okay. Did we take second? All right, I'm gonna call it there and say we took second. So we moved up a little bit, that's great. I hope you all learned something today. I'd like to open it up briefly for any questions or comments, and then we can launch into the activity. So I'll try to check the chat here to see if we have anything, but if anyone would like to turn on their microphones, ask any questions, we're open to answer whatever you'd like.
Well, I don't see any questions.
No questions? So, see, we had 10 students, so a very exclusive session today. That's nice. Go Falcons. Right on. Okay. All right, if there's no questions, then I'm going to stop sharing, and ultimately, I believe Tim or Ann are going to open up the breakout rooms. Please go to your respective breakout room and you'll be briefed on the activity there. So thank you very much for listening.
Will, with only